Hello there everybody, this is RegiTime here with my second podcast that are coming around rather irregularly, certainly not as regularly as I first wanted them to come, and I've been inspired to do a solo podcast for the first time today, which isn't something I really wanted to do, to talk about game selection, what it means to be a mass tabler, what it means to be a recreational player or somebody who plays more in line with typically how people see recreational players. And I want to kind of talk about the pros and the cons of both of that. Mostly I'll talk about the pros of not being a mass tabler. That's kind of it's where I am, it's what I do with poker, so it's kind of obvious that I'm going to be the guy that's going to try and promote that way of poker life. And I want to start with a brief analogy, which kind of it's not exactly perfect in line with poker, but I think it's going to make my point. And I want to make a point that if you were going to open a new coffee shop, where would you want to set that coffee shop up? Would you want to set it up on a high street where every 50 yards is like a Costa Coffee, Starbucks, Nando's, KFC, McDonald's or whatever, who are all selling coffee? Or do you want to set up in some village in the countryside where there's not as many people, there's no one who's much passing trade, but all the guys that live in the village are really, really wealthy, they've got shitloads of money to spend, and they're happy, because there's nothing else to do, they're happy to come into your coffee shop several times a week and pay over the odds for your coffee. You know, you might smell more cups of coffee on your high street shop. If you open your shop in the high street, you might sell more cups of coffee to the passing trade, to the people who can't be asked to queue in Costa or Starbucks or whatever. But on that high street, maybe you're only making 20 pence per cup of coffee, whereas in your shop in the village, you know, you might sell nowhere near as much coffee, but you can sell it at quid 20 more per cup. So you're making an absolute fortune on the cups that you do sell. So which would you rather have? Would you rather work really hard on your high street store every day, making countless cups of coffee and making almost no profit on them? Or would you rather live in a village in a nice friendly environment, selling nowhere near as much coffee, actually having the time to spend having a nice chat with your customers, getting to know your customers, building up some kind of brand loyalty, and then charging through the fucking nose for your cups of coffee? Which sounds like a better lifestyle to you? The person really stressed out, really sweating over a coffee urn all day, or the person who's kind of just taking things easy, chilling out, selling coffee, nowhere near as much of it, but when they are selling it, they're making a huge profit on it? Which guy would you rather be? Some guys do like to be busy. Sure, lots of other guys would like to really just have the easy life, and that is, I guess, the crux of the difference between being a high volume mass tabler type player or a recreational player. Do you want the hard grind, the fast-paced life, the working really hard, being super busy all the time, or do you want to just have a nice laid-back life where, well, whatever, you know, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but when you win a lot, and it's just a lot more laid back. It depends who you are, what sort of person you are. Well, for many players who come to online poker, or who come to poker in general, I don't think anyone comes to poker when they first start playing to say, you know what, I want to be a fucking 16-table grinder. I want to play 1,200 hands per hour and have my face 3-bet off constantly by some bot from Belarus. I don't think anyone wants that when they first come to poker, but it's a life that many people get sucked into because that's the general narrative on the forums. Oh, you must play high volume, you must be doing this, you must be doing that. And it just simply isn't true. You know, it's stressful playing poker under those conditions, and it can be very, very tough to deal with, particularly for new and inexperienced players, because the downswings are just so much bigger when you're, and they come so much quicker when you're playing high volume, hard, aggressive poker with other high volume, hard, aggressive poker players. The downswings are bigger, the break-even stretches last for so much longer. Sometimes you can just get buried in a game and wonder, how the fuck am I going to get out of this? You know, I'm 5 days into the month and I'm already stuck 20 buy-ins. What the fuck is going on? How am I going to make this month pay? And it's just really, really easy to just lose your mind. And then, do you really want to play in a game where every single week your biggest payday is when you cash your stars coins in, or your FPPs in, or your rewards on AAA, or whatever site it is you're playing on? Do you want your biggest payday to be the day that you clear a bonus, or cash in a bonus? Because that's the life a lot of mass tablers have. They sit there and they grind maybe 20, 30 hours a week. Maybe they put 40,000 hands a week in. Over those 40,000 hands, maybe they win 8 buy-ins. Maybe they win 10 buy-ins. And then they'll get another 15 buy-ins at the end of the week with the repeat piece. Is that really the life you want? Is that why you came to poker? Is that, did you come to not make much money at the tables, to not build big stacks, to not have fun, and to just basically save up some rate back and cash it in? That's what you want? Fine, no issue with it. But when you first started playing poker, was that the dream for you? I don't think it was. It certainly wasn't for me. So another thing that I often see is, if I always play against fish, I will never improve. What a complete load of bolt twaddle that truly is. If you subscribe to that theory, you have to subscribe to the theory that the soft sites are completely devoid of any kind of skilled regulars, which is clearly nonsense. It's complete bullshit. I play on Sky now, and I won't play in situations. I usually start tables or join tables that are short-handed, and I need certain conditions to be met. I need it to be, if I'm playing four-handed or less, I needed to be at least one significant losing player, and if I'm playing six max, I needed to be at least two significant losing players. I won't play at tables where there's only, say, one losing player between six people. I just don't think there's enough profit in there to make it worth my while to have that table open, and I'd rather just not have the pressure and the stress of playing against competing with with 4 other regulars for one fish's money. It's not what I want. But I'm still having to compete with regulars on a daily basis, even if I'm playing at my ideal table, which will have, say, 2 really weak players and 3 of the regulars. I'm still having to compete with those of the regulars for the recreational players' money, and I'm still having to compete with the recreational players who are capable of making life tough for us in different ways to regulars, by just making us have to think about things that we're not used to thinking about. So yeah, to say you're never going to improve, it is complete total nonsense. You may improve at a slightly slower rate, but you're more than compensated for that by having a significantly higher hourly, not higher hourly rate, but higher win rate. So that's just nonsense. And if you do enjoy tough spots, then you're still going to get that on these sites too. You just want to put in them every couple of minutes, which can be, to be frank, incredibly tiresome and confidence sapping, especially to players who don't have a particularly high win rate. If you're playing in games where you're constantly being put under pressure by skilled players, I don't care how much, the saying goes, iron toughens iron, or whatever the phrase is, can't remember. Yeah, you may well be getting better and improving and really toughening yourself up as a poker player. But unless your improvement's going to be at a faster rate than the other guys who are all doing the same things as you to improve, where's your edge come from? That we have to make an edge at some point. We have to find a cutting edge, and we have to be able to use it. And the more we play in tough pools with lots of other really tough players, yeah, we do improve. We improve, we get better, but we never get a chance to demonstrate that because the other guys are getting much better too. So I just think it ends up being a push. So then we get to something that I think is massively, massively overlooked, which is the social side of online poker. I'm guessing when most of us came to online poker, maybe not the guys these days, maybe not the newest guys, but certainly when I started playing, there was a social side to online poker. You logged in, you chatted at the tables. There's sometimes, the chat wasn't always the nicest. You'd be calling someone a fucking donkey, they'd be calling you a fucking donkey, they'd be needle, they'd be flaming. But also, you could actually see the same players every day. You could have a conversation with them, and you kind of look forward to the grind. You got to know people. None of us come to online poker to make friends. I understand that completely, and I'm not saying that that's a reason for any of us playing, but there isn't any reason why we can't get some kind of social benefits from playing still. I've made some very good contacts playing online poker. I'm not going to call them friends because I don't know them and never met the guys. But there's guys I speak to sometimes on a daily, sometimes on a weekly basis, so I very much enjoy the company of when I'm playing poker. And I think if we're playing like 8 gazillion tables and 1,200 hands per hour, there just isn't time for adding that to it. And it has value. It just has to have value. It has value when we're things like going our way. We have people we can let our steam against. We have people we can talk to. And vice versa. We also get to feel good about ourselves when other people come to us to talk about the hard times, and we can hopefully help them inject some logic and help them get back to enjoying things. It's just, to me, it's having a social aspect to the game. For me, it has value. It means something. And I guess to a lot of recreational players it does too. Only unfortunately, a lot of recreational players sometimes quickly give up that side of the game because they get sort of sucked into the whole, if you're a recreational player, if you're not playing high volume, you can't ever be good at poker, you can't ever make poker. So I just want to talk about Sky Poker, which is what I play. And there's a unique environment that I just don't see at any other online poker site. I mean, I can't speak for any limits higher than the ones I play, which are up to 50-0. But between 10 and the 50-0 on Sky, regs get involved in the pissing contest way less than they do on any other site. They converse with each other more at the tables. There's tons of regulars that I talk to now on Sky, and I look forward to talking to them on a daily basis. We're at the tables, and we're playing hard poker. We're trying to beat each other. We're trying to take each other's money. But at the same time, we kind of understand each other, respect each other's grind, and there isn't the same kind of atmosphere you get on 2+, or not on 2+2, on Poker Stars or on AAA or something like that, where the regulars are seen as like your nemesis, your enemies, your whatever. There's no. It doesn't feel to me, at least, maybe it's because I'm a friendly guy, but it doesn't feel to me, at least, like people are going out of the way to really make my online grind difficult. It doesn't feel like the regulars go out of each other's way to make life hard for each other. And that's not to say that there's any collusion or soft play or anything like that going on. It's just nonsense to suggest that. I think it's just maybe they're not as good as like hardcore mass tablers, they're not as like tough as teakers they are. But I also think they actually understand that they're going to make way more money long term by letting the guys who always stack off with top pair see flops. I mean, if you've got a guy at the table who limp calls, wants to limp call with his 6-9 offsuit, but can never get to see a flop because he limps, I isolate, and the reg to my left 3-bets me constantly. So the guy never gets to see a flop and never stacks off. I think they understand the value of letting those guys see flops. So it's more profitability in not 3-betting me with ace-jack suited to make sure they see a flop with the guy who's always going to stack off with his top pair with his 6-9 than there is in 3-betting me pre-flop with the ace-jack. And obviously 3-betting me pre-flop is a plus EV play. I'm not saying for a second it isn't a plus EV play. I'm saying I think these guys understand there's more EV in actually getting to flops with really bad players who play really poorly post-flop. So I think that's kind of why they have a slightly different feel to them as well. So what you need to ask yourself as a recreational player or a new player coming to the games, whatever, just someone who isn't already a hardcore mass tabling super high volume grinder, you need to ask yourself is, do you want to play in a game where if you don't squeeze out every last penny of EV from every spot that you're in, you're going to find it hard to be a winning player? Is that the kind of game you want to play in? If it is, well, you know what to do. You go and find some speed poker pools and you just grind the fuck out of them. Or do you want to accept that you're a human being and you're going to make mistakes sometimes? So therefore, do you want to find games where every mistake that you make isn't pounced upon, and that just isn't pounced upon and then pounced upon some more, and then it just feels like, where's my next opportunity to like atone for the small error that I've just made? Because if every single mistake you make is getting jumped all over, and then there isn't some guy there who's making more mistakes than you, which helps you atone for your error more quickly, again, it can be a really challenging grind. And yeah, it is. It's. You might think that's taking the easy way out. It's making the soft way out, but it isn't. It's just common sense. We're going to make lots of mistakes when we play. We all are. Every one of us does make hundreds of mistakes every day or hundreds of mistakes every week. That's just the way it goes. We miss a value bet. We call a bet we shouldn't quite call. Whatever. There's loads of ways we can make loads of mistakes. And if every single one of those mistakes is just getting jumped all over, it can be very depressing and very, very morale sapping. Is that really what you want? Or do you want to play in games where you get away with the occasional mistake? And where even if you do make a big mistake and you lose your stack, you can look around the table and think, you know what, I can see that player, that player, that player. You can identify players across 3 or 4 tables that are going to allow you to atone for your error relatively quickly. So remember why you started playing the game. Most of us started playing because we wanted to enjoy a game of poker. How often, if you're a master, if you've got this far and you are a master table, if you've got this far in the podcast, which most of you won't have because you'll have turned it off by now, but if you are a master table or a Zoom player, how often do you actually enjoy your online poker experience as much as you did when you first started playing? How often when you log on do you really think, you know what, fuck me, I'm looking forward to this grind today, I'm looking forward to this game of Zoom poker? Maybe you do. Lots of players probably still do, but I bet you now there's like hundreds of players out there that log on every day, nervous as shit, just praying this isn't the day that everything implodes for them, and they have that 10 buy-in downswing that ruins their month, or they have put 2 or 3 sessions together where they lose 20 buy-ins that completely destroys, their entire month, destroys their confidence, and sets them back weeks and weeks and weeks. So for those of you who haven't yet been drawn into the addiction of chasing super high volume, to me, you should count your blessings. Just take a look around the forums, look at 2plus2, look at Reddit, feel just how uneasy and unpleasant the underlying atmosphere on these sites is. I'm probably going to get flamed for this, but they're just full of bitter, gnarled, malcontented regulars that have worked fucking hard on their games, but they still can't beat them for more than like 1 or 2 big blinds 100. Do you want to become that guy that is just constantly like spitting abuse at new players and patronising new players and being condescending to new players that are asking the basic questions just so you can feel a little bit better about what a great poker player you are? Now, do you want to be that guy that spends hours every single week arguing about the EV of a 5-bet shove, showing you can do a better equity calculation than your equally malcontented fucking forum dwellers, showing what a great player you are, whilst at the same time having a PT4 graph or a holder manager graph that pretty much just flatlines the entire time because you don't have the common sense to find some players that are worse than you and actually stack up some profits? Just ask yourself that question. And then if you want to see what online poker can be, shoot over to the Sky Poker forums. Look at how friendly the threads are on there compared to 2plus2, compared to Reddit and some other poker forums. See how the regulars and the recreational players actually get along in the chat, in the forums, in the threads, in like a really respectful manner that doesn't leave anyone feeling silly or inferior. Just don't lose track of why you started playing poker in the first place, which is almost certainly as a hobby or a pastime. For most of us, that's how we come into it. Something to enjoy, something to look forward to, rather than something that puts you on edge every single time you play, because this might just be the time that you crack up and dump a hell of a lot of money on the tables. It's absolutely fine just to be a recreational player. You can be a recreational player, have relatively low volume, and still make the game pay. Ignore the people that urge you to study, and then leave yourself just a few hours a week to play. Because what happens then, if you do that, you just end up cramming loads of hands in. If you could play 15 hours a week, and you decide, I'm going to have a 50-50 study versus playing time, and then 15 hours, I mean, is that really what you want from poker? Did you come to poker to really spend hours and hours and hours running equity calculations, reading forums, and doing all that shit? Or did you come to actually play? Did you come to play some poker and learn by experience? To me, if you have 15 hours a week to devote to poker, don't feel bad about it if you're playing 13 or 14 of those and just spending an hour or so trying to improve. Just remember, it is still supposed to be fun. That's not to say that we shouldn't continue trying to improve. I'm not saying that for a second. We should always be striving to improve, but don't forget that it is supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be a little bit of fun. Because for me, somewhere since the start of online poker, the fun's been removed for too many players. And I guess the point of this is for me to urge you guys who haven't yet had the fun removed for you, just don't be one of those guys that turns a hobby that they really enjoy into a mindless grind, and become one of those guys that almost hates poker now. And there's tons of them out there. You've seen them at the forums. Don't be one of those guys. Remember why you started playing and just enjoy the game. Love it for what it is. If you end up just being some guy who only makes 50 or 60 quid a week from playing 3 or 4 tables on a soft site, that's absolutely fine. And I imagine most guys, recreational guys listening to this right now, would love to make £100 a week just playing poker and having fun and enjoying it. Just ask yourself, what do I want? Do I want poker to be my job? If you do, then this podcast has been a complete waste of time for you. But if you're a recreational player and you'd just be happy making some extra pocket money, please, please, please do not get stuck into the mass tabling grind, because you'll end up feeling like pretty much every other regular out there that we've discussed in here. You'll end up hating the game, burning out and moving away from it, and that isn't good for any of us. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of my thoughts on that. I wanted to make this because I've talked about it for a while on different forums, and yeah, I do get a fair amount of shit for my attitude and how I encourage people, but I wanted to just put it down and on record, and it's just have something where I could direct people to in future if they do come to me and say, you know what, explain to me why I don't need to be a mass volume player. I want something rather than having to type it out every time. I want something on record. So this is it, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you do have any questions or comments, please do leave them in the comments section on YouTube or wherever you find this, and I will be happy to answer them, unless you are one of those malcontented pissing contest regulars who's just going to call me some kind of fucking fish who can't beat the games. If you just want to say that to me, don't bother, because you won't get a response. But if you do want to talk about it in a sensible, mature, grown-up way, I'd be more than happy to field comments and have a conversation. But for now, we're going to leave it there. I hope you've enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll be back with a video really soon. I haven't made a video for a few weeks. I've been really busy. Hopefully I'll be back with one soon, and hopefully you guys will have got something from this. So there we go. That's it for now. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you all have a fantastic week. Bye-bye for now.